a support system,
ending racism,
change the power dynamic,
more youth involvement,
give back to the community,
the support for resident empowerment.
You know, youth changemakers in general, I would say, townwide, nationally, we need to have space for youth in general. There always needs to be that place where kids can have that voice, and, you know, in addressing these inequities, you know, it's really, really important that we are giving youth that space to be able to shine regardless of their background. You know, being a youth change maker isn't like being in your student council at school. It's not a teacher-student relationship. You know, we're treated as equals around all these adults and these residents. You know, we have our steering committee, we're given an equal vote on things that we want to do, projects we want to approve, things like that.
It's a very important position, and the thing is, we are hurt. Like, a lot of the adults, they're always like really shocked with what for example, they say like, oh my God, look at these young kids doing this, changing the world.
I want to see more youth involvement. The main thing I want to see is a youth board on our town council. I think that's really, really important to be able to have, you know, that youth board making decisions about our town. You know, I just want people to be excited to live here. I want to see like just vibrancy and excitement and activities and people being like, I'm from Winchendon, and being proud of it.
I think that whatever they do, they're going to be successful at it because they have their heart behind it and they're really passionate about it, and they really want to see these changes, and they're not just looking at surface level changes. They've really learned to look at the root causes of the challenges that they face in Winchendon, and they've experienced them firsthand. Like, this is their home too, and these are the actual improvements that they know their community needs, and they are also part of the representation of kids that need more support and are underrepresented. So I know that they will be successful because they understand the high stakes of what happens if they're not.
So HEAL Winchendon came about very organically. In 2018 here in Winchendon, we lost our only grocery store, and so a lot of concerned citizens, including myself, came to the table, as well as schools, the senior center, the hospital, some institutions, to see how we could solve that problem. And we very quickly realized that solving food insecurity, or really any issue, cannot be done in a silo, and it can't be done by itself. And we started looking at what are the root causes of food insecurity. And we saw so many health issues, we saw poverty, we saw racism, we saw a lot of issues of inclusion and equity, that until we addressed those, nothing else was going to be changed and sustained.
HEAL does a great job of addressing the root causes of poverty and inequity. We also, you know, really look at the foundation and the institutions that have allowed this to happen for so many years, because if we don't look at like the upstream causes of these challenges, we can't really make sustainable changes.
And one of the things that we recognize as we've gone along the way is that the residents are capable of doing the things that need to happen. We have to provide resources, and we have to change the environment, policies, and systems in order for them to be able to realize what they can do. And unless we do that, nothing's going to change. And so we are changing the environment, we are changing policies and systems around economic empowerment, around the food system, but we also need to change that social context.
I think one of the most impressive things that HEAL Winchendon has been doing from the beginning of their work is really stepping back from trying to implement, and really think about how what their actions are today will affect generations down the road. And so what I see is the logic model, or the design of HEAL Winchendon, is sort of like, you know, gears around this middle circle. And the real goal is quality of life for all. That requires reducing disparities, but how can you do that? You really have to get at the root causes of the way the society and the community is structured that result in those inequities in the first place. And so I see the shifts in power as real indicators of success, and I think that will continue. I see real serious moves towards racial equity in Winchendon. You know, 8 organizations, and actually more than 8 organizations so far, have participated in and done some really inward-looking assessments of their own work to see how they could improve.
So HEAL Winchendon is a collaboration of resident leaders, youth leaders, and institutions.
The adults have been very helpful. They are always on the ball. They always, we ask them for advice, and they always gave us the best advice. one of the people there, the big people that sitting in the big chair at the town hall, recognized who I was. I was actually a former student of hers in her academic support class. She said she was very proud of me, that I did a good job. I just spoke to big people. I'm a puny guy, a citizen, and I just spoke to big people from the town hall, the Board of Health. I never thought I'd be able to do that. I honestly never thought I would be able to do this.
When we're looking at institutions and policies, again, we're really invested in looking at systemic changes.
I've only been in HEAL for 2 years, and I feel like we've done so much. We made Pride proclamated by the town. You know, the successes aren't just the events we put on, it's the change that you see in the attitudes of the people in the community. And I think that, you know, once you start this work, once you become invested in the good parts, you see the positive change of living here and how it's worth putting your effort into making positive change.
One of the reasons I began working with HEAL is because I saw a need, a long-term need for our community. And it kind of began as I've worked throughout the community. So it's funny, I used to be youth leader for United Way Youth Venture, and I kind of heard a lot more data about Winchendon as a community, which really scared me and made me sad at the same time. And this small town community, I didn't realize, like on paper, like how hurt we were as a community. And it was also very impactful to know I grew up here, so I like firsthand saw the data. So HEAL, I think, provides these opportunities for people to be the best that they can be, or attempt to. And like that's why it's so important, because our work is not done. I don't want my child to end up, you know, and struggle the way that I've had to struggle because I grew up in these circumstances and I didn't see people in my community that looked like me. So it was so much harder for me, I think, to move forward in life. It's why it's so important. This work is so important, and we just have a lot, and we have to get busy. We got a lot of stuff to do, so.
The work we've been doing is so important because too often grants and projects focus on kind of the downstream symptoms of an issue. And what we're doing with HEAL is that work that oftentimes is too big for people to take on. But we've already created this foundation of invested residents and youth and organizations that want to see this change happen. And we are already seeing mindset shift and the ship begin to shift directions. The fact that we as local residents now can see that we have the power to change and feel that power, we need to now be able to continue to act on that.